I throw away my shot, is this how you remember me? What if this bullet is my legacy? Legacy. What is a legacy?
Any fan of the hit Broadway show Hamilton can tell you one of the largest motifs in that musical is the concept of a legacy and what it means to leave one behind. How we can pursue greatness in a quest to be remembered, but ultimately what you do is irrelevant because as hard as you try, you don't get to write history. Some people who do great things are remembered for them, even if they weren't popular before they died. Others who have changed the very fabric of society are often forgotten, lost to time. And some people only get remembered by those who they affected, their memory held by those who treasure them and what they gave to these select individuals. I say all that because I want to talk about the legacy of my favorite voice actor, Wayne June, who recently passed away in January 2025, shocking fans of his work. Now, if you don't know who Wayne June is, you're missing out. In the world of video games, he was the narrator of both the Darkest Dungeon games as well as Dota 2, and a couple of TV series as well. He had also done the reading for numerous audiobooks, which are linked below. He wasn't the biggest player in the game, but he had his niche and was one that was put to great use. Now, I haven't played Dota 2, but I have heard clips, and I am planning on giving the books from H.P. Lovecraft a try in the near future. Right now, I want to talk about a game series that I love that Wayne's voice starred in, and that is the Darkest Dungeon games. If you don't know what Darkest Dungeon is, it's a game series that prides itself in not pulling its punches. Enemies can get lucky and deal large amounts of damage just like your heroes, and when a hero dies, they ain't coming back. If you let the torch get too dim, you can get ambushed by this horrific beast that sprouts spores, blades, and tentacles alike. Sometimes the odds just stack against you, and the perfect storm of the enemies going first, followed by targeting the weakest hero, and the coup de grace of the hero dying the first chance they get, because death's door resistance is a myth. Now, Darkest Dungeon as an IP is made up of two different games, and these games are actually quite different from one another, with the developers, Red Hook, always striving to create new experiences over repetition. And while the two games have a wide array of differences, the overall themes I just listed apply to both. If you're thinking about giving the games a try, you don't necessarily need to play them in order. To someone new to the series, the sequel may be more approachable thanks to the seamless token system and roguelike elements, which make losing a run a lot less impactful and frustrating. Compare that to the original, which incorporates a lot more D&D elements with a higher focus on percentage and randomness, as well as a longer campaign where losing a squad of powerful heroes feels like a straight gut punch, as you raise and nurture them before they got one shot by a move called Tree Branch Smackdown. The best part is that throughout both games, Wayne June's voice is with you the entire time. Whether you're just starting the game, beginning your first expedition, dealing a heavy blow, receiving a heavy blow, fighting a boss, dying, dying some more, dying a couple more times, you name it.
A time to perform beyond one's limits.
Wayne's roots are so deeply ingrained in these games that he was literally the narrator for the game's first ever trailer. The developers would later come out and say that they had only initially asked him to voice their trailer after thinking he was perfect for it. And after they had completed that project, they knew he was something special. From there on, Wayne would hold the role as narrator for both the first game that released in 2015 and the sequel that released in 2021, all of the DLCs for each, and also several trailers for promotional material. He was their go-to person, and those who play the games can tell you, literally the only person who speaks throughout the entirety of these games is Wayne's voice. Seen in the form of the Ancestor in Darkest Dungeon 1 and the Academic in Darkest Dungeon 2. While it's pretty consistent throughout the games, I cannot possibly begin to explain how well his voice fits the aesthetic of the game. A gothic, eldritch fantasy is perfect for a deep, gravelly voice who speaks with such a presence that doesn't invite you to listen, but rather commands it. And it's a damn good thing the developers picked the perfect person for the job, because as I mentioned, you hear his voice a lot, unless you turn it off in settings. A bad narrator can absolutely ruin an experience, whether that's a video game or another piece of media. I have this issue with Marvel Rivals, a game that can be so much fun, but man, do I not like hearing Galactica speak. This isn't an instance where it ruins the game, but for me, it doesn't add anything either. It just makes me want to buy a different narrator voice, which, now that I consider it, may be intentional. It is important to understand the narrator's significance in Darkest Dungeon, not as a gameplay element, but rather a story-wise element. Some people claim that the Darkest Dungeon games would not be where they are today without Wayne June. And I am one of those people. While I do concede there is no way of truly knowing how successful the games would have been with a different narrator, it is pretty safe to say that his voice has become part of the series' identity. And more notably, if he weren't involved, the game's cultural impact would be quite different. Think about it. If you're a fan of the series, what part of them do you bring outside of the game and into the real world? What aspect of the game sticks in your mind when you're away from the screen? What moments, when you are playing the game, gave you chills? No matter what your answer is, no matter which part of the game comes to mind, Wayne June's voice is probably at the very least a part of it. All great games leave an imprint on you. When you play Elden Ring, you might go to bed after dying to Melania the 89th time, thinking about ways you can improve your strategy, or once you beat her, you hold on to that sense of accomplishment well after you turn the game off. The Binding of Isaac literally has a sequence where you hear Isaac's parents going through the motions of separation, reminding the player that no matter how zany or weird the game can get, it's still about the horrors of religious zealotry and how it tears families apart. Lethal Company contains both terrifying and hilarious moments blended into an experience that you'll want to share with others because it was just that funny. I'm sure your favorite game is partly your favorite because you can't stop thinking about it. That's how Marvel Rivals is so successful to bring it up again. It provides an experience so bombastic and engaging that when people have to go to work or school, they're only thinking about how excited they are to get back home and ruin my games by playing triple support. For me personally, the Ancestor and Academics dialogue was the biggest imprint that the Darkest Dungeon games left on me. When I think of these games, I can literally hear Wayne's voice in my mind. And I know I'm not the only one. It's what made his passing all the more saddening, because on top of the loss of human life, we're also losing the source for so much joy. In an instant, we had to come to terms with the fact that whatever is in the game and whatever has been recorded ahead of time is it. A voice in which some ways is infinite has flipped into a finite and collectible amount.
Ruin has come to our family.
Regrettably, there is one part of Wayne's legacy that he leaves behind that has to be addressed. I hadn't actually heard about it until after his passing in the form of a Reddit post by Brock, who gave some examples of Wayne liking and sharing hateful media on Twitter and Facebook. Obviously, this is a sensitive topic, but what I can say with complete confidence is that I entirely disagree with the opinions Wayne was sharing, and I do not tolerate bigotry of any kind. And if these were just opinions I disagreed with, that would be one thing. Like, oh wow, this 70-year-old white guy has some conservative beliefs. Color me surprised. But it's the nature of the posts, and from whom, that is cause for concern. I don't want to linger on the things that were shared, because for one, that opens an entirely different political can of worms, and two, I'm more interested in exploring what it means for his legacy that he shared posts online that were hateful. As far as I know, in terms of cancelable actions he took, this was it. Using social media and promoting harmful views on platforms that these days are full of nonsense. By no means do I want to diminish the potential and real harm these posts can inflict. I want to make that perfectly clear. I think that gauging by the Reddit thread that most of the community shunned these takes, and it inspired a sensation of disappointment. But I think it's really important to understand that things change when a person dies, and I want to try to demonstrate that. Say you have a grandma who you have known your entire life. She helped raise you, she was always there for you, and in your mind, she is the perfect grandma. And then, out of the blue, you learned your grandma has been recently browsing some shady websites and now believes in the flat earth. Suddenly, she is fighting with your entire family because she wants to convince them that there is no way the earth is a sphere. You and everyone else still love her dearly, but it's different now that this flat earth thing has taken over her entire personality. Maybe you stop talking to her as frequently, or when you do, you start being careful in your words to not give even the slightest chance she could turn the conversation towards her beliefs. Everyone in the family talks about it behind her back, and no one knows what to do since trying to change her mind is an impossible task. And then she dies. I bet most people's first reaction to this death would be confused sadness. You mourn the loss and probably spend time reminiscing on the good times and lament the time lost after her visit to 4chan. Further than that, Maybe you mourn the fact that there was no moment of reconciliation, and now there never can be. I have gone through this with a family member who wasn't my grandmother nor a flat earther, but the rest is about the same. Today, I look back at the fondest memories and smile, and I accept the perfect person I thought they were growing up was in reality another flawed individual like the rest of us. That to me is what really makes this whole debacle with Wayne upsetting, because we all wanted to believe this awesome guy who had a really cool voice was an angel. But you know what they say about meeting your heroes. You yourself may not be able to forgive Wayne's transgressions. I don't think you should if you don't want to. But for those of us who either grew up playing these games, have a lot of cherished memories of Wayne's voice, you can see the complexity of the situation. And to be frank, it could have been so much worse. That's not an excuse for his actions at all, but let's just say out of all the ways to taint a legacy, this is pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. Inexcusable, sure, but minor. Whether you agree with it or not, there is an uncertain equation in the world which balances how much you suck as a person to how much you benefit the world. Some people in history are truly detestable, but they are only remembered for the good things they did for the betterment of society. My opinion is that Wayne June brought a lot of light into the world with his voice acting, and while I wish he had kept his distasteful opinions to himself, I am going to continue to enjoy what he gave us. It just means now there will always be a small asterisk attached to his name. At the time of making this video, I have not heard any updates about Red Hook's plan moving forward. I think as far as public speculation goes, we can't accurately guess what they will do until we have more information. Until we know how much content has been recorded ahead of time and the avenues Red Hook is willing to take, the most the community can do is wait and see. I am glad to hear that Red Hook is not going to go the Activision route and turn to AI, as that's probably the worst solution on the list. I have seen some people suggest the next narrator shouldn't try to replicate Wayne and instead have their own style that still fits the Darkest Dungeon vibe, which I can get down with. Since we know the next Kingdoms module, which is the next on the slate content for Darkest Dungeon 2, is going to be the Crimson Court, it would be pretty sweet if for those specific encounters, the Countess was the narrator. But that wouldn't work too well for content outside of that. Wayne June's voice brought life to one of my favorite game series, and now when I play them, I find myself listening to the narration even more than ever. It's crazy how something can become so valuable when you realize you are taking it for granted. Joni Mitchell was right. You really don't know what you got until it's gone. I know some people won't be able to let go of some of the things he did, and that's okay. That's your call. But don't go around telling other people they can't enjoy Wayne's work because of it. Not only is that unreasonable, it isn't fair to Darkest Dungeon, Red Hook, and the greatness of these games, as well as all of other Wayne's work. I'm not sure what Red Hook will do, given they have at least one more expansion announced, with more certainly in the works. I trust that they will choose the option they think is best for the game and the community as a whole.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.